Okay, so passing the federal budget could be a little bit easier for the government after that Nova Scotia MP, Chris crossed the floor to the Liberals.
Chris's decision to join the government caucus at this crucial moment for our country is exceptionally valuable and important.
Okay, here to talk more about this floor crossing and its fallout are the CBC's JP Tasker and Kate McKenna, who, like every reporter in Ottawa, has been calling Conservatives all day. I think that's what's going on. So, JP, a budget day of deficits and defections. Walk us through what happened today when the caucus got together.
Yeah, a little over 12 hours after crossing the floors to the Liberals, MP Chris was on hand for a post-budget press conference this morning with the Prime Minister, and it was a chance for reporters to ask him, why are you leaving your party? Why are you leaving a political movement that you've been part of for most of your adult life? And d'Entremont's answer was relatively simple. He said it was Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre. He says he's a red Tory and feels like he doesn't have a home anymore in Poilievre's party. And he also said he is bristling at Poilievre's negative approach to politics. Let's have a listen to what he said.
I wasn't feeling that I was aligned with the ideals of what the leader of the opposition had been talking about. So I've been sort of re-looking at what my career is bringing and what I can do for my constituency. So over the last little bit, talking to many of my friends in the Liberal Party, as Deputy Speaker, I got to know a lot of those members personally, ask questions, see what's going on, and understanding the point that we are in Canadian history, where it's time to actually try to lead a country, to try to make it better, and not try to knock it down, not to continue to be negative.
So he doesn't want to knock down the government anymore. He wants to be part of that government and try and solve some of the problems that the country is facing. We saw the Prime Minister welcome him with open arms. He says he admires d'Entremont for his courage, for making the tough decision to cross the floor like this. We also heard from Prime Minister Mark Carney that he is having other conversations with other MPs, suggesting that there might be other floor crossers in the future, although it doesn't seem like that is happening at this point. But certainly he made it clear that there are conversations that are ongoing. And we also heard from d'Entremont himself that there are other Tory MPs who feel the same way that he does. He says that there are other MPs that are in the same boat as him, feeling disaffected by Pierre Poilievre and his leadership style. We saw the Liberal caucus really open its arms to d'Entremont today. It was really quite a remarkable sight. They were jubilant to see him, right? Some of them were cheering Chris, Chris, Chris. There was a very enthusiastic reception to him. Some people were hugging him. And I think they're probably as happy as they were, because now they're only 2 seats short of a majority government. By adding d'Entremont on that floor crossing, it really kind of changes the electoral math, changes the equation in the House of Commons when it comes to votes, including potentially on the budget. As for the Conservatives, a completely different reaction, as you can imagine, to this development. We heard from some MPs calling d'Entremont a liar, a coward, saying he's betrayed the party, he's betrayed the voters that sent him to Ottawa just 6 months ago. So there's a lot of hurt feelings on that side of the House today.
Yeah, no question. And Kate, it was interesting, like last night, there was a frenzy of rumors after the budget and the defection of more. And a lot of Conservatives were thinking, uh-oh, we're going to lose and give Mark Carney a majority. It's a different vibe today. So what are your sources telling you about whether there could be more?
Well, I think that's exactly right. Overnight, rumor mill was in full swing. Even before Chris d'Entremont came out and said, I think there are others who are in the same boat as me. You know, one of the first calls I got this morning, 6:45 a.m., was a Conservative telling me they thought 2 more were coming today. Depending on who you talk to, it could have been between 2 and 7, potentially, Conservatives who were thinking about crossing the floor. Of course, that didn't happen so far. And, politics is the art of managing expectations. They are down 1 MP, but they're not down 7 MPs. And so for some people,
it's a win.
It's a win. But as the day wore on, it appears some of the wind has been knocked out of those sails. We know that there has been some caucus outreach, to put it mildly. Some MPs have been receiving phone calls, checking to see where they're at. At the center of some of the speculation that was so rampant today was Edmonton MP Matt Genereux. He was rumored to be crossing the floor. There was a statement that came out from his office, and I know confirmed by you with the MP directly, saying he is not going to cross the floor. Another MP that was rumored for weeks now was Dominic Vienne, Conservative MP from Quebec. She's put out a video saying there are rumors, I'm not going anywhere. So, this is a defensive play from the Conservatives, and this is not where they like to be. Pierre Poilievre is known for being able to set that agenda, but he's found himself on his back feet in a way. And it is clear that there are still significant tensions simmering within this caucus, and this has been kind of a challenging month for them, because we can think back to a few weeks ago when Pierre Poilievre appeared on that YouTube channel talking about the leadership of the RCMP being despicable, and then suddenly we started hearing these leaks from caucus, people who are worried about his leadership, worried about his leadership potential. That hasn't gone away. In fact, it's probably at a higher level now than it was then. These are things that he's going to have to clamp down on, especially going into a leadership review in January.
Yeah, there are still people in the caucus I was speaking with who still have questions about his tone and his judgment at times, but made the point they're conservatives and they're staying conservative. At least for now. Who knows? It's only Wednesday. Who knows what Thursday might bring? JP Tasker, Kate McKenna, thank you both for your reporting. Appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Thanks, David.
So CBC Halifax headed out to Chris d'Entremont's riding today to find out how his constituents felt about his defection to the Liberals.
Well, I'm kind of neutral on it. I'm not worried about it. As long as he's done a lot of good for us, and I'm not sure whether it bothers me that much or not.
It's upsetting. I supported Chris in the last election under Pierre Poilievre's leadership, as did my wife. So yeah, we were both kind of upset to see it happen, honestly.
I'm kind of glad, Rita, that Chris took his time to think about things that he wanted and he felt that we wanted. So I'm glad that he decided to cross over.
I think he should have consulted with his constituents first. We tend to vote Conservative, and Chris is our local representative, so nice to have someone on that party in Nova Scotia.
Okay, for more reaction to this, we've got Ontario Conservative MP and their housing critic Scott Aitchison, who joins me now. Scott Aitchison, good to see you, sir.
Good to see you.
Just deal with it up front. You're not here to defect, right? You're staying in the Conservative caucus for now in the foreseeable future?
I'm a very happy, loyal member of the Conservative caucus under the leadership of Pierre Poilievre.
Okay, you're happy and loyal. How happy, though, is your caucus today? What was your reaction when you saw the d'Entremont news?
Very happy. Listen, I mean, there's no question that it's a shock. You're a team. You're a family. And so it's a shock when something like this happens. I'm disappointed in Chris. He's a friend of mine. I like Chris. I still like Chris, but I'm disappointed in his decision. I think it was a mistake. And I can tell you right now that the rest of the caucus is completely unified. We had a great caucus meeting this morning. Everyone is all on the same page. We're all, supporting Pierre. We're all heading towards the same direction. We want to focus on making the lives of the people we represent better, and that's why we're here.
Mr. d'Entremont says there are more who have been talking to the Liberals and might be considering. The Prime Minister alluded to that, saying that there may be other conversations and other things happening. I mean, how concerned are you right now that there may be more Chris d'Entremonts in your caucus are willing to leave?
Well, I'll go back to my earlier statement. I'm less concerned with the palace intrigue of parliamentary floor crossing and more interested in making Canadians' lives more affordable. And that's one of the things that we've been focusing on with this budget, which I hope we get to. Because
we will.
I think that this budget doesn't make life more affordable for Canadians at all. It's a lot more sacrifice that Prime Minister Carney promised sacrifice. He says you're going to have to sacrifice more. He wasn't kidding when he presented this budget.
Right, but just as a final point on this, I memean, it's not just palace intrigue, because there is the potential of a minority government switching to a majority government, should two more do this. I mean, and, your party was successful in getting rid of Justin Trudeau without an election. I mean, Mark Carney could get a majority without an election, if these conversations bear fruit. So, I mean, what is your sense of where that is right now? Are you rock solid confident that it's all over now?
I'm rock solid confident that our team is united as a team and behind Pierre Poilievre, and speculating on hypotheticals that the Liberals want us to speculate on is a waste of time.
Okay, but Mr. d'Entremont did say he left because of Pierre Poilievre's leadership style. How do you think Canadians might hear that?
Well, I think that Canadians are going to focus on Pierre Poilievre's leadership commitments and his commitment to great policy that actually will make life more affordable for Canadians. There's a number of policies that this government has actually adopted of Pierre Poilievre's. And so, that tells me that, we're not on the wrong track when it comes to these important issues of making life more affordable for Canadians. It's an issue that matters to people, an issue that matters to everyday Canadians, and I think most Canadians aren't paying attention to the nuance of, whether Chris d'Entremont is in our caucus or in the Liberal caucus. They want to make sure that we're working here for them.
Okay, one of the last times during the show we talked about the housing policy of this government, because they had rolled out the Build Canada Homes program, I think around that time. Yeah. There wasn't much more, if anything new, in the budget beyond that on housing, which is, I know, is your main issue. It's $25 billion funding for housing, $16 billion to existing programs, $7 billion to Build Canada Homes, and $2 billion in tax measures. Do those move the needle enough for you, or do those move the needle at all? I know it's not going to be enough, but do they move the needle at all?
Well, I think they probably move the needle a little bit, but in fact, if anything, from their campaign commitments to their announcements to their budget, they've retreated in a number of ways. One of the things that I find most shocking is that there's a program called the MURB, the Multi-Unit Residential Building Program. It was a tax program back in the 70s that the first Trudeau Prime Minister canceled because it was working too well, I guess. I don't know what the problem was. But today, we've heard in the election campaign that the Liberals were talking about bringing that back. Nothing in the budget about that. I've heard from builders all over the country that this is a program that would get thousands of rental units built. That seems to be their focus. Right. So I don't know why they're not interested in getting the private sector to build these units. It sounds like they're more interested in having the government build these homes. So I'm a little concerned about that there's no mention of that in the budget. And frankly, one of the other big commitments they made during the election campaign was to get the development charge cut in half.
Right.
And so they've changed their language about that as well. Now they're talking about having it substantially reduced.
Right. Okay. So that's what I wanted to go to. It's on page 102 of the budget, and it's in the infrastructure section because they have a provincial and territorial stream of $17 billion in infrastructure that you can get if the provincial government matches the federal funding, but that phrase you use, to substantially reduce development charges and not levy other taxes that hinder the housing supply. Similar to the housing accelerator, a little bit different, but along the lines of what you were talking about as a government, that you would sort of take back infrastructure money if people didn't hit housing targets. Where do you think this fits into the policy mix that's needed?
Well, Pierre Poilievre and I have said all along that there's absolutely a need for federal infrastructure dollars to assist cities, but that the lens through which a Conservative, a Pierre Poilievre government would look at that infrastructure funding is through a housing lens. And not just hopes and dreams and promises. We've seen what happens with that. The Housing Accelerator Fund was used in Toronto, based on a commitment to do certain things, which they've bailed on. We said all along it should be based on action, results, upzoning around transit sites, for example, and making the commitment to getting the job done, and also reducing the cost of government at the local level. And so the Housing Accelerator Fund had nothing to do with the cost of government at the local level. And Sean Fraser, who was the minister before, who said to me, oh, yeah, we have another fund that we're going to focus on getting development charges down. That's going to be our infrastructure fund. So now they have another infrastructure fund, and they say it's going to be related to substantially reducing and or freezing development charges. There's language out there about freezing development charges.
Right. Well, the language here on this page is substantially reduce development charges and not levy other taxes that hinder housing supply. I don't know if this is in another part of the budget or not, but right there on this, but can that work? It is.
The problem with that is it's incredibly ambiguous language that cities and city governments will be able to sort of tap dance around and play games with these local development charges. It drives me crazy that this government talks about manufactured homes and factory-built homes and that kind of stuff, and how they're going to build at a pace not seen in a generation. This is all their rhetoric. They're going to. I hear the word catalyze again, I might lose my mind.
Well, don't read the budget.
They're going to catalyze lots of things and get more homes built. But at the end of the day, they have to get the cost of government down. The big difference between today in using factory-built homes and just after the war when they built factory-built homes was you didn't have to go 8 rounds with the local government to get permission to build. You didn't have to pay all the development charges. It was so much cheaper to get things built. And today, the housing supply issue is a housing affordability issue. And in Ontario alone, the average is 30% of the cost of every new home is government. And when that's the biggest chunk, You've got to get that reduced. And they're not making a real commitment to reducing the cost of government.
So, well, I mean, there is 40,000 jobs to be eliminated, about $13 billion a year by the end of the review process will be reduced, but on a $500 billion budget. But look, a quick final point. You talked about sacrifice. Mark Carney said there should be sacrifice. There's a lot of sacrifice in this budget. If the cuts aren't as deep as some people feared, I mean, how do you define sacrifice here? There is a big deficit that goes to spend on a lot of things, a lot of it caused by what's happening in the White House. What's the big sacrifice you see in this budget Canadians are being asked to make?
I see the biggest sacrifice being made by young Canadians who have been told they need to sacrifice. The Prime Minister at least had the dignity to go to a university and tell those young people that they need to sacrifice. And they're going to continue to sacrifice because there's nothing in this budget that will actually get housing built, get things started. This whole concept of cutting the GST and rebating it for only first-time home buyers, the industry, housing experts have all told us that's not enough of a market to get homes built. And so as a result, they're not going to collect any GST on homes that aren't getting built. But you know what they won't collect either? They won't collect payroll taxes and the taxes generated from people working building homes. The industry is laying people off right now, and this budget does nothing to solve that.
Okay. Scott Aitchison, we appreciate the time. That's Conservative housing critic Scott Aitchison staying in the Conservative caucus, as he makes very clear. Thank you, sir.
Thanks, David.